I had no idea how drastically my life would change following the divorce when I had to manage my working a full-time job while parenting my active twin boys Ethan and Noah became overwhelming. I was hesitant at first when the agency suggested a male nanny, but I was desperate for help. That's when I met Jamal. Jamal was unlike anyone I had ever hired before. He was calm, confident, and instantly connected with the kids. The boys adore him from the moment he stepped into our home. Tall and athletic with an easy smile and a gentle voice, he had a way of making everything seem manageable. Over the next few weeks I watched as he handled tantrums, messy dinners, and bedtime routines with a patience I deeply admired. I often found myself lingering in the doorway watching him read bedtime stories or build Lego castles with the boys. Something about the warmth in his eyes, the way he listened to them, made me feel like my home wasn't so chaotic anymore. Jamal brought peace, and not just to the boys but to me too. One Saturday afternoon while the boys were out with their grandparents, I decided to do some much-needed cleaning in the garage. The boys' old toys were everywhere and I had been meaning to sort them for weeks. As I bent over a box of action figures trying to decide what to keep, I heard a familiar voice behind me. I was just out running errands and thought you could use a pick-me-up because you've been working non-stop. You need a hand with that. Startled me. I turned quickly and bumped my head lightly on a shelf. Jamal was standing at the doorway with 2 iced coffees and a drink tray. I laughed nervously and rubbed my head, thinking you were scared. He grinned and stepped inside. My heart warmed a little, and I was moved by the gesture. I took one of his coffees, and I'm grateful that he always seems to know when I'm going to hit a wall. Keep the kids safe and make sure mom doesn't burn out, right? I laughed again, but there was a strange tension in the air. As we worked, we talked about everything, including music, childhood memories, and how life had surprised us both. As the garage started to look more organized, I sat on a small stool, sipping my coffee, and dabbing at my brow. You've been a lifesaver, Jamal, I said quietly. I really don't know what I would have done without you. I'm happy I could be here, Sarah, but you're stronger than you realize, he said, looking directly into my eyes. There was a pause as if we were both realizing something unsaid had been developing between us, but it was quickly broken by the sound of the garage door opening. It was my neighbor returning a borrowed ladder, and Jamal and I exchanged a quick look before returning to our work, which was quietly nestled between boxes of vintage toys and memories. Days passed, but that moment stayed with me. I found myself thinking about Jamal more than I wanted to admit. He was kind, respectful, always professional, but there was something more there. One evening, after putting the boys to bed, he stayed behind to help clean up. I offered him dinner as a thank you, and we ended up talking at the kitchen table for hours. He told me about his childhood, how he'd always wanted to work with kids because he never had a strong father figure. I opened up about my divorce. The loneliness, the fear of raising 2 boys alone. He listened, really listened, and when I started to cry he didn't look away. He reached across the table and took my hand. You're not alone, Sarah, you don't have to be. His words hit me like a wave. It wasn't a romantic confession or a dramatic gesture, it was just honest, and it meant everything. We didn't talk about it after that night, but things felt different, more comfortable, more real. There were moments when our hands brushed, when we locked eyes for a second too long. That told me he felt it too. I didn't know where it was going. I didn't even know if anything would ever happen between us, but I knew that Jamal had become more than just the boys' nanny. He had become a constant, a friend, and maybe even something more. One evening while walking with the boys in the park, Ethan turned to me and said, Mom, I think Jamal makes you happy. You smile more when he's around. From the mouths of babies, I turned to face Jamal, who was pushing Noah on the swing. He turned around and grinned as if he had heard what Ethan had said. Perhaps this wasn't what I had anticipated when I hired him, but perhaps life was providing me with more than I could have ever dreamed, and all it took was a Saturday in the garage, a thoughtful surprise, and an open heart.